All right, there we go. We're recording again. That's exciting. Morning, Brady.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Good.
Corbin, you got up. Did you see his look? He's like, anyway. I'm excited you're here, Corbin. Smile. You're on a Zoom. You guys. The Helgersons are here. Nat, Brady. All right. Who else are we missing yet? Oh, somebody's getting on. Yeah. Seriously? That's Oh, Eric. And there's Dalen. Oh, it's a party now. Morning, Eric. Eric was playing in the snow last week. Brady, you don't get the nice recliner this week. Oh, man. I'm just glad Dawson is covered up and doesn't like just show off his shirtless body this morning. So there you go. Okay, I shouldn't have said anything. Thanks for that, Dawson. Morning, Helgersons. Rebecca's hopping on. All right. Is this just about everybody? Are we missing anybody? I have to try. I know I have a list someplace. Hold on. Oh, there's Ashton. Yep. Okay. Let's see. Rebecca, Brady, Dalen, Austin, Aiden, Eric. Oh, Alex isn't on yet. Rachel, Corbin, Holton, Nat, and Ashton. Okay. Nat, that was a big yawn, Nat. I'm impressed. Funny. Okay. We're going to give Alex just a minute to see if he can hop on here. I'll put up the fancy graphic for everybody because I know that's what you're all wanting. Fancy graphic. Oh, look at that. All right. Can't beat the fancy graphic. That's what I tell people all the time. Okay. All right. Alex. Oh, Alex is here now. Hey, how you doing, Alex? Good. Tell your dad in the background I say hi. Okay. All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. So to begin with, and I know a lot of you probably know each other, but do me a favor really quick. You can't spend a lot of time. I need a high, a low. Just give me a high and a low from this last week. Okay. So you're going to have to unmute yourselves, share. So give your name, your high, and a low. All right. Who wants to go first? Brady. Awesome. Good job, Brady.
My high is that it's the weekend, and the low is that varsity just lost last night.
Okay. All right. Nat. I'm just going to go down the line here. You guys don't have it, but I have a little whatever. Go ahead, Nat.
I think my high is that my mom made a smoothie for me. Wait, are we supposed to do low?
Yep.
My low is probably that there's only 2 days to the weekend.
Okay. True. All right, Yelly.
My My high is probably that I got to be dressed with the varsity, and I just stood on the sideline, but that was still fun. And my low is probably that the varsity lost and the football season's over.
Okay. Rebecca?
My high is that the girls cross country team, we were district champions on Wednesday, and I placed second in the district. And I don't really have a low. I guess pre-calculus is kicking my butt a little bit, but I'm getting there.
Okay. All right. All right. Austin?
High is that I can start to walk, but a low is that I still have to wear my brace.
Gotcha. Aiden?
My low is that it's cold out, and my high.
You know, you don't have to wear shorts if you're cold. You can put like a sweatshirt on or something.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just kidding. All right, go ahead.
And then my high is that I'm doing good.
You're doing what? Sorry, I cut out there for a second.
Good in school.
Oh, okay, cool.
Get an
A. Sweet. Dalen?
My high is that it's cold out, and my low is that the football team lost.
Your high was that it's cold out? All right, whatever. I'm not here to judge. Well, a little bit. All right, Ashton.
My high is that it's the weekend, and my low is the weather outside.
Okay. Alex.
My low is that varsity lost last night, and my high is that I got to take the pet bus to the district's cross country meet on Wednesday. And that was fun.
Okay. All right. Holton.
Low, we lost last night. High, it's the weekend.
Okay. Corbin.
I'd say then my high is wrestling is starting soon, and my low is it's cold out now.
Okay. Sorry, and I apologize to you this really quick. Do you guys have like different rules for wrestling or anything like that, or is it just sort of a normal practice? Or are you splitting up, or?
I haven't heard anything. I was kind of thinking the same thing, like what we're gonna do with COVID and stuff, but
yeah. Okay. Again, I was thinking about that the other day. You know, I was quite the JV wrestler back in the day, just so you know. I was one match away from actually winning state. I tell people because I wrestled behind Lee, and had I beat Lee in high school, I probably would have won state. So that's what I tell people. I'm just kidding. That's a joke. Anyway. All right, Rachel, who thinks I'm hilarious, next.
My high is probably that my family's coming today, and the low is that it was really cold last night and we lost.
Okay. All right. Well done. So I'll just go really quick. My low is that it's really, the weather's kind of been a stinker. I think that's my low. My high would be, my high is that I had a good night's sleep last night. That's my high. I slept well. That made me happy. All right, here we go. We are going to go ahead and get started, everybody. So, oops, let's see. Oh, there you go. All right, so there's your welcome. All right, so today we are going to be talking about the last two baptismal promises, and both of them are about what we do and how we act in the world, okay? So both of them have to do with how we live our lives, not for ourselves, but for the good of others. Everybody, thumbs up. You with me so far? All right, I've only talked for 2 minutes. I hope so. Eric Yelly, thanks for staying awake this far. All right, so we're going to talk today about serving all people, following the example of Jesus, and striving for justice and peace. Oops, I bet it's there. There we go. Oh, looking back. See, I'm already like off. All right, so that's what we've been talking about. There we go. Strive for justice and peace in all the earth. All right. So last week, right? Last week we were talking about sharing the good news, right? That's what we talked about. Evangelism, that was the focus last week. So when we think about how we share God's good news through our actions, one of the first things that we usually think about are ways that we can serve other people. Serving other people has to do with taking care of others and helping out. When we serve, we think about the needs of others, and then we think about how we can use our gifts and talents to help. So it's important if we have, if first thing you have to see is what the needs are. Because if, for example, I want to help out Rebecca Anderson, right? I have to figure out what she actually needs me to help with. Because if she has plenty of food and I bring over a sack of food, that's not actually being all that helpful to her, right? Does that sort of make sense? So you want to line up the needs of people with how you're helping them, which seems to be a little goofy, but it actually makes sense. All right. So how many of you guys participate now? I have a couple middle schoolers, I know, but how many of you participate in Silver Cord? Anybody? Palmers, do you guys do Silver Cord at all? No? Okay. All right. Dale and Rebecca. All right, there's a couple. Brady, come on. Eric. Silver Cord. Let's go. Get it going. All right. So Silver Cord is an example of serving others, right? For those of you that don't know, really quick, Rebecca, what's Silver Cord? Can you explain that?
Silver cord is that sometime between your freshman, I guess you can start getting hours after you after you leave 8th grade. Is like sometime between your freshman and your senior year, you need to acquire 200 hours of community service, and then at graduation you just get a silver cord that goes with your gown. And I guess just volunteering in general, really helpful for the community and looks good on college applications.
Yeah. So one of the things that I had a group of people that were earning Silver Cord hours when COVID hit, right at the beginning. So do you guys all know what the food pantry is in town? So the food pantry used to be at our church and now it moved to a different location, but a lot of the volunteers are older, right? And so I got a call about a specific need because there's a truck that brings, a couple thousand pounds of food every week to town. And so I had to round up some people that would help unload the truck every Tuesday because all their volunteers are older and couldn't be out, especially at the beginning with COVID, couldn't be out in the public. And so that was one way that they were earning some Silver Cord hours and being helpful. All right. All right. Let's see. Bum, bum. All right. So we are going to do a little brainstorming. All right. So who could think of some ways that Jesus, let me stop sharing. All right. Can you think of a way that Jesus served people? A specific way? Is there a story or like something that you can remember of a way that Jesus helped serve others?
I think an interesting story of his service is like when he washed people's feet.
Okay. Yep. Washing feet, which might sound weird. Do you know why that's serving others?
Well, wasn't it like a thing that like when someone came into your house that you would like that they would have to wash their feet or something?
Yeah, well, okay. So I have shoes on. So when I go into somebody's house and I take off my shoes, I'm not walking around. It's completely filthy, right? But if you're walking around in sandals and bare feet and that type of thing, you're walking around, your feet are super dirty. So when you go in, you get your feet washed. That way, it's a way of being respectful to the people's homes. All right. So washing feet, other people. Who else can think of a way that Jesus served or helped somebody?
When he gave all those people bread and fish by like multiplying it.
Yep. Jesus was doing the Sermon on the Mount. People were hungry. There were a couple loaves and a couple fish, and Jesus fed the 5,000. Yep. That's a way that Jesus served. What are some other ways that Jesus served, do you guys think? Do you guys remember this? There's one story where Jesus gets really ticked off and gets angry. Do you guys remember what story that would be? Nat?
When the rabbis were like selling stuff inside the synagogues.
Yeah. And so Jesus goes in and the rabbis are, in the back, they're selling things and making some moolah off of it. And Jesus gets mad and flips over things. And that's serving people because it's helping those that are like being kind of taken advantage of, right? I mean, that's where Jesus is getting angry and wanting to serve some justice up, right? Anyway. All right. What other ways? What other ways did Jesus serve? Give me two more ways. Come on, somebody think of two more ways that Jesus may have served others. Seriously, this one, nope, not you, Rebecca. I'm going to see if we can get others. Sorry, I think you're great. Let's see if there's one easy one. One
Like when he-
super easy one.
What, like when he, like the blind guy, when he like
Oh,
helped him see again?
yeah. He helped the blind see. Yep.
When
That's
he
a good
died on
one.
the
One more.
cross to save our sins, and
Yeah, Jesus served others by dying on the cross, right? Okay. And so that's a way Jesus sacrificed himself for others. And in fact, we use that terminology a lot, right? I mean, if you're in a sport, it's all right, sacrifice yourself for the team. I mean, if you're throwing a block or something like that, right? I mean, putting yourself out there in a way that's going to help other people. That's what we're talking about. Okay. All right, let's go back to the fancy slideshow here. All right. Oops. All right. Okay. Jesus teaches us to follow him. How many of you guys have your phones on you? All right. So look up this verse. You guys grab your phones. Look up this verse. Let's see. But yeah. So let's have Corbin and Holton, Nat, Dalen, and Rebecca look up the first part, that Matthew 10:43. All right. You guys look that up. If you have a Bible, use the Bible. Otherwise, use your phone. The rest of you guys, I want you to look up the John 13:3-5. Okay. All right, so while you're looking at that, Jesus made it really clear that serving others is part of what it means to be his disciple. And that's what we're talking about, right? We're not talking about going to church. We're not talking about, what you believe in necessarily. It's about discipleship. It's about following. And so following means, like, for example, you have captains on a team, or you have a coach, or you have a music director in front of you. They want you to follow them, right? Not just listen, because if you just listen, it doesn't mean that you're necessarily buying in. But when you're willing to follow somebody, that means you're all in. And so when we talk about discipleship, it's sort of an all-in deal. It means I am following Jesus and going to model what Jesus is doing. So when you talk about serving others, that type of thing, this is what we're talking about when you talk about discipleship. All right. So who's got give me a thumbs up. Has everybody found their verse? All right. Good. All right, Corbin, would you be willing to read that Mark verse, the 43b-45? And if there isn't a B, just read 43-45.
Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many.
Keep going. One more.
That's all that I have here.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Does somebody have the last part of there?
No, I don't have it in the Bible either.
Okay. Tell you what, I'll finish it off. Sorry about that. And then just before he was arrested and put on trial, in some of his last moments and instructions to his disciples, Jesus showed his love for them by serving them and by telling them that they should follow his example. All right. The other half of you, do you guys have the John part? Yeah. Austin, do you want to read that John verse for me? The 3-15? Oh, are you guys on mute? Oh, here we go.
Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going to God, for got up from the table, took off his outer robe, and tied a towel around himself. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel that was tied around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, Lord, are you going to wash my feet? Jesus answered, you do not know what I am doing, but later you will understand. Peter said to him, you will never wash my feet, Jesus answered. Unless I wash you, have no share with me. Simon Peter said to him, Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and head. Jesus said to him, one who has bathed does not need to wash except for the feet, but is entirely clean. And you're clean. You are clean. Though not all of you, for he knew who was to betray of him. For this reason he said, not all you are clean. After he washed their feet, had put on his robe, and returned to the table, he said to them, do you know what I have done to you? You call me a teacher and Lord, and you are right, for that is what I have washed your feet. You also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have set you an example that you also should do as I have done to you. Very true, I tell you, servants are not greater.
That's good. Good job, bud. Awesome. I think that's the end of it. Yeah, that's good. All right. So somebody explain to me what that. Let's start with that one. And Rebecca, actually, that was the story that you were talking about, right? The washing of the feet. So what is Jesus sort of saying in that? Can somebody give me a really quick spiel?
He's telling his disciples to live by example, and because Jesus, their teacher, had washed their feet, that they should go forward and wash other people's feet.
Yeah, and it's important to point out here, whose original job is it to wash people's feet, do you think, back in the day? Before Jesus did this, whose job is it to wash feet?
The servants in the household.
The servants in the household. Okay. It would be sort of like somebody you respect and look up to. Who's a teacher that you guys like? Give me a couple examples. Teacher at the school. Pretend like you like one of them.
Coach Nimrod.
Okay. It'd be sort of like having Coach Nimrod, or let's say Coach Truin, or let's say Coach Johansson, or somebody like that come to your house and wash your feet, right? Because we kind of see them as up here, right? And we see ourselves down here. And instead they flipped it where they are serving us instead of us serving them. Okay? So this is important now when we talk about how we live our life. I don't see myself as better than other people. I see myself as a servant to help other people. Does that make sense, you guys? You see how that's kind of flipped? I mean, a lot of the world is all about how, all right, so I am up here and I'm better than you. Well, no, that's not how we view anybody. We view everybody as if we are serving them, right? I mean, can you get much bigger than Jesus, right? I mean, Jesus is the Son of God, and Jesus is willing to get himself on the floor and wash others' feet, okay? All right, how many of you guys have the handout? Do you guys have that handout? Can you guys hold the handout up? If you don't have it, it's okay. If you don't have it, we're going to be okay. I am going to split you guys into a couple different groups, okay? So on the first side of the handout, and they'll, Helgerson's, when other people, they'll help you out with that a little bit, okay, to tell you what they're looking at. But if you guys want to grab a piece of scratch paper, You guys, maybe a scratch paper and pencil, that'd be great. That way you can make some, hey, there you go, fancy. All right, so on the top half, you have a chance to think about your gifts and talents, the things that you have to offer in the world. All right, so you can get creative. Think about your resources you have. If you have some money stashed away from birthday cards, or maybe you have some free time in the afternoons or Saturday mornings free or something like that, right? And think about your talents. When we talk about your talents, what are you good at, right? It doesn't have to be anything huge. We're not talking about, I'm going to get up and do a public speech. It's okay. Are you a hard worker? Right? Or would you be willing to put some time and effort in so that, hey, the food pantry needs some help hauling stuff? Is that something you think you could help with? Or if there's something at school or things like that, right? Maybe you have a bunch of extra clothes in a closet. Okay. I'm not judging. I'm saying maybe somebody does. Maybe you have a bunch of extra clothes that you don't wear. There's people that genuinely need clothes, right? Especially now with the weather. A lot of you complained about the weather. It's getting cold outside. There's actually a lot of people that don't have winter coats out there, right? And so you have those types of things. All right. What are you good at? What are you able to be helpful? All right. Then at the bottom, okay, so at the top, write down the gifts and talents that you have. And then on the bottom, I want you to brainstorm needs in our community and in our world. Big things, little things. What are some things you see that are happening in the world that are issues? I'm not talking about issues necessarily that you can solve, but think about, I want you to list at least a couple, both close by, in town. Sorry, that I'm looking at in town. That's why I look to the right. And also sort of in the larger community in the world. Okay. So top half, gifts and talents, bottom half, things, big things and little things, all those things count. All right. Okay. So just everybody put themselves on mute. So first I want you to work on that for just a couple minutes by yourself. Okay. Oh, I bet I can mute everybody. I don't know. You guys start working on that. Give yourselves a few minutes. And I'm going to have you guys share some of these too. So everybody be thinking about something. All right, another minute, you guys. Okay. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. All right. I am going to send you all to breakout rooms. We're going to split you up into 2 rooms. What I want you guys to do, first of all, pick somebody really quick to sort of make some notes. I want you guys to share at least one talent, share at least one problem, right? Everybody has to share that in their small group. Then what I want you to do as a group, okay? And you guys can talk about more of the issues you guys see in the community and the world. I want you guys to talk just really briefly and say, are there problems that we could solve together as well? And do some brainstorming on that. Everybody got that? Thumbs up? Yeah? Palmers, you got it? All right, here we go. All right, I'm just doing these breakout rooms. We're gonna do them randomly. So we'll see how that works. Have fun. I'll bring you back here in a minute. Maybe I'll do that. There we go. Hello, everybody. All right. Did you just spill food on the floor? Oh, I thought I saw some. Is that oatmeal? What is it?
It's ramen.
It's ramen. It's 10:30 in the morning. By the way, what exact animal are you wearing?
I don't know.
Okay, well, I just saw it as ears on your, right? Doesn't the hoodie have ears?
Yeah, my mom said it's Eeyore.
It's ear. Okay. All right. So you not smiling at all this morning is okay. That must be a recurring theme if she got you an Eeyore outfit. I'm kidding. You know who Eeyore is, right? Oh, did you just shake your head and you don't know who Eeyore is?
Nope.
Dude, your brother doesn't know who Eeyore is. I blame you, just so you know.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, you guys, how was give me a really quick, give me a couple things you guys talked about. Give me a rundown. How about this? I'm gonna ask some of you what a gift is and some of you what one problem is. All right, so let's Corbin, what is one problem you see in this community? What's one issue?
Like in the Decorah community?
Yep, in the Decorah community. What's one need that this community has?
I guess I really don't know.
Okay, all right. All right, how about this? Do a gift then. What's something you're good at? What's something you can share with others?
Bolton says football.
Okay. Dalen, what about you?
A gift that I have to offer is like helping people, and then needs in the community are working together.
Okay, yeah, that's a need. Alex, give me a problem in the world.
Unity. Like everyone's always divided over something.
All right. Yelly, what's a gift you have?
Just kind of being like nice to people, I guess.
Okay, cool. Brady, what's a problem you see in the world?
Not enough shelter for everyone.
Yeah, that's a problem. All right, Rachel, give me a problem you see in the community.
Like the decor community?
Yep.
Well, I guess like the food pantry and not everyone like has food.
Yeah. Yep. Ashton, what's a gift you have?
I can help people just by listening and encouraging them,
Okay.
and just giving them someone who can hear them to good things or bad things.
All right. Nat, what's a gift you have?
I think that I can at least make an attempt to make somebody laugh. Not always successful though, and that can try and improve people's days.
Okay. All right. Aiden, do you have a gift you can share with us?
Listener and making good with kids.
Okay.
Um,
Austin, what is a problem you see at school or in this Decorah community?
There's especially at school, but there's like a lot of bullying through school
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
at school.
Rebecca, what's a problem you see in the world?
I think that a big problem in our world is that people don't listen to each other with an open mind and an open heart.
That's a problem. Corbin, what's a gift you have? Or Holton? Corbin already answered, right?
Personality.
Mine would be caring.
Okay. And the ability to pull off an Eeyore onesie.
Mhm.
Not everybody can do that, just so you know. So it's interesting when we talk about problems in the community. I think just in this community, I think a lot of times we don't see there being many problems. Is that fair to say? We kind of have this view of Decorah being like this like perfect place with all these we have these hills and valleys, every kid gets straight A's, we're good at every sport. You know what I mean? That type of thing sometimes at the back of our mind, where the reality is the amount of students and families. So there's a difference between like needing food and food security. Okay. So food security means, all right, you might have food right now, but you might not have food next week. Right. I mean, there's people that are struggling day by day to make ends meet, and they're one job loss or one medical bill away from not being able to afford food anymore. Right. When we talk about health and well-being, especially mental health, I'll be honest with you guys. During COVID, especially, the amount of students dealing with depression and anxiety really rose drastically. Okay. Part of the issue with that is that people weren't talking to other people, right? You weren't spending time, which can be an issue. The other part of that is we don't always like to talk if we're struggling, right? We're feeling depressed, we're feeling anxious. It's something that we don't necessarily want to open up with, right? One of the things that I really enjoyed, do you guys know what Dak Prescott is? Quarterback for Dallas. One of the bravest things he did was talk about himself and his brother, who both dealt with, mental health issues. Because there's a stigma, and it's, especially around here, it's like, well, don't tell anybody if you're struggling with things because people might look down on you. And one of the great things that Dak was like is, if you're struggling, you need to talk to somebody, right? And so Ashton, when you're talking about being willing to listen to others and support one another, that stuff actually really matters, right? Being willing to do that and being a caring person in people's lives really, really does matter. All right, we're gonna move on here. All right, let's see, let me go back to the slideshow here. Hello. Sorry, I wasn't looking up. I looked up, I was like, oh, what is that? All right. Okay, there's the sheet there. All right. So from serving to creating a better world. Serving, taking care of needs as we see them. Faith calls us to serve. Faith also calls us to make a better world, right? So God challenges us to like help feed people, right? I mean, if you don't have food, okay, it's really hard to work and it's really hard to do well in school. It's amazing. One of the reasons a long time ago that they started this free and reduced school lunch thing is because they found that, and especially the breakfast thing, because the breakfast was new when I was in high school, is when the breakfast started offering breakfast. Because what they found is kids that are sitting there that haven't eaten for a day, right, really have trouble learning. Okay. And so they started offering this because if you have some food in you, even if it's not a fancy breakfast, you're able to learn, you're able to work, you're able to do all these other things. So having food security is one of the most important things. So sorry, I just went off on a tangent. So we serve Christ by helping. Do you guys know what Habitat for Humanity is? Okay. Habitat for Humanity is essentially you build houses for people to move into. Okay. And then part of that deal is if you're a family that moves in there, then you help build the next house, right? And so if you have a solid place to live, right, that makes a huge difference. If you know you have a roof over your head, when we think about being rich, this is kind of one of the things that we have to try to, everything is perspective, right? Because I would say if I were to ask you, don't raise your hands right now, how many of you guys are rich? Probably not a lot of you would raise your hand, right? However, if you go to some communities or some people were to come over here and see how you live, about how you don't worry about having food, you don't worry about having water. There's places in the world you have to carry water 20 miles back and forth, right? And that's not like your parents saying, oh, I had to walk to school 4 miles uphill. That's not the same thing. It's a legitimate, people have to walk like 20 miles, right, to get water. And so if they were to see the way you live, dude, you guys are completely rich, right? And so that's where perspective sometimes matters to say, and also it helps us when we're thinking about serving others because we're not, well, I don't have the new PS5 yet, or I'm not on pre-order for the Xbox or the best running shoes that are out there, or anything like that. But sometimes if you sort of put perspective as in, you guys are blessed, right? You guys need to be thankful for what you have, okay? I mean, everybody on here has a device and internet they're able to use. That's a big deal. There's a lot of communities that don't even have that, okay? And so if you've been blessed, you need to go out there and serve others. So faith also calls us to make the world better. All right, what does God require? So there's this prophet Micah from the Old Testament, okay? This is one of my favorite verses. It's what does the Lord require of you, right? Okay, but to do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly with God. All right. Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's break that down a little bit. So Micah's job in Israel was to tell people that they have been unfaithful to God, right? So Micah's going around and telling all these people that are doing all these things and just worried about themselves. Micah's out there saying, hey, you guys are completely forgetting about God. You're not taking care of each other. You're not worried about the poor, right? The powerful are tricking people out of their money for selfish projects, okay? So this whole book is God talks through Micah and says, all right, so what is it that I want from you, my people? Do I want you to come to worship me more? Do I want you to make more sacrifices and grand acts of devotion in the temple, right? Okay, so raise your hands. Would our God rather see us out there serving other people, right, and helping the poor, or would God rather see you, doing fancy things during worship? Which do you think? Brady, which do you think?
Really?
For what?
It's early.
Would our God rather see you in the temple doing these fancy things, worshiping God, or out there serving people and helping the poor?
Serving people and helping the poor.
Yeah. Okay, this again is where we look at how Jesus lived his life. Now, we only have like 3 years of Jesus' life in the Gospels, you guys. Now, okay, time out. Everybody look at me. I mean, everybody's eyes on me. I'm not telling you the worship's not good. Okay, don't take that. That's not the point of this lesson. However, what I'm saying is most of what Jesus is doing in the Gospels has very little to do with what's happening inside the church and for him. Instead, most everything in the Gospels, when Jesus is doing things, it's about serving others, helping others, teaching others, right? And again, when we're talking about being disciples, right, it's how are you serving others? How are you helping others? Okay, that's what we want to focus on. I'd much rather have you guys leave this and say, all right, there's a neighbor down the road that is struggling with some stuff, or maybe they need help on their farm, or maybe there's a friend of yours that needs a phone call, that somebody to check in on them, or maybe you're writing notes to people, or maybe you called onto the food pantry or serving them, right? Those are the things that are actually going to make a real impact in other people's lives, right? It's not just sort of this, oh, foo-fooey, maybe I'm helping somebody. It's no. All of those things genuinely matter and make a difference to people. And that's what we want, right? When we talk about discipleship and following Jesus, again, the one time that Jesus is really in the temple, what is he doing again, Brady? Do you remember? Or who was it that told me? No, Nat. The one time Jesus is really in the temple, what is Jesus doing?
Throwing over tables.
Yeah, Jesus is throwing over tables. There's never a story about Jesus walking in 5 minutes late to church and sitting there quietly. Now, again, worship is good. You guys should come to worship because it helps us like refocus our lives on God and what God is calling us to do. But very much so, Jesus is focused on other people and serving others. Okay. One of the things that I'm going to pick on Rebecca here for just a second. One of the things that Rebecca does every Sunday is Rebecca leads a small group of kids, right? And so it's not just teaching those kids stuff, it's about building a relationship so that those kids know that there's somebody that cares for them, right? Those things make a difference in a kid's life. So if that kid's struggling, oh, by the way, there's this person at church that invested in me and cares about me, right? Those things actually matter. All right, being humble, what do you suppose that means? Really quick, somebody give me what the humble part of that do you suppose is?
Like doing the things that you do and like doing them well, but not flaunting what you do, kind of doing things quietly.
So what you're saying is on my Insta account, if I'm like helping out Aiden with something, I'm not like, hey, look at me, I'm helping out Aiden, right? I mean, not that pictures are bad, right? Or putting on your Snap story is necessarily a bad thing to do, but we don't do those things to like brag about ourselves and lift ourselves up. We just do those things because that's what we're called to do. Okay? Because then all of a sudden, if we're worried about how people are viewing us, why are we helping people? It's not about helping people because we want to help people. It's about helping people because it's going to make us look good. Make sense? I mean, it's the whole aspect with the team sport, right? I mean, I would hope in most team sports, the guys that want all the glory for themselves and talk about how awesome they are not necessarily the best teammates, right? But the guys who want to make everybody else better and help everybody else do better, those are the guys that you call captain, and those are the guys that you follow. All right. Okay, we're going to talk about justice really quick. Justice means a couple different things. So when Micah says, do justice, all right, so if you look over there, there's criminal justice, which is sort of obvious, right? You are out and get caught doing something you shouldn't, you go to jail or you get a ticket, right? That's criminal justice. When you talk about social justice, okay, that is seen that, hey, there's a group of people out there that needs help, so we're going to go help them, okay? So when you talk about social justice, I want to make sure that I am saying this correctly. Let's see here. Let's see. When we talk about God and justice, there's a little bit of both of these other things. So social justice, or when we're talking about putting things right in our world, especially making things right for people who are struggling, all right? So fairness and balancing things, right? So that is social justice. And when we talk about God and justice, there's a little bit of both of those things. We have the criminal justice aspect and the striving for like balance and fairness, right? That's when we're talking about God's justice. For God, justice looks like people who have power and wealth and opportunity using their gifts to lift up and make things fair for people who don't have power and wealth and opportunity. God's justice also looks like good winning and evil losing, right? At the end of it all. But God's justice isn't just about balancing, it's also about the role that grace, mercy, and kindness play in all of it. God's justice is concerned with loving our neighbors above all else, which means that God's justice isn't motivated by getting even. And Jesus teaching us that God calls us to something bigger and better in an eye for an eye type world. God calls us toward showing mercy, offering grace, and putting love at the center of things. And the way that we make room in our hearts for loving our neighbors this way is by staying humble. Walking humbly, talked about in Micah, with God means that we don't get too proud or get too worried about power or status or being cool or winning all the things. God asks us to leave the room in our hearts and in our lives to turn away from putting ourselves first all the time and instead to put the needs of others first. And so when you put all these pieces together, justice, mercy, humility, this is at the heart of the things when we talk about how faith and our baptism ask us to go and work for justice and peace in all the earth. Okay? I went through a whole lot right there, right? But when we talk about, again, we started this whole thing with sort of with the washing of feet and how you see yourself. Okay? How you perceive yourself matters a whole lot. If you see yourself as being better than others, you're probably not going to want to serve. B, if you don't see yourself as having any gifts to share, okay, that's a problem, right? Because then if you can't think of the gifts and how you want to help out the world, it's going to be really hard to see and help out the world. Also, if you look around the community, sometimes we have these rose-colored glasses on. We have to be able to see problems that are happening. We can't just pretend that problems aren't there, right? And so we have to focus on all these things. But it starts with, do you see yourself as a child of God? Okay? So this baptismal promise about, are you claimed by God? Do you believe that you're claimed by God? If so, so what? Why does that matter? If you believe in Jesus, give me the so what, right? I mean, I can tell people, yeah, I believe in Jesus, but if my actions and if my heart doesn't change and doesn't make me want to serve other people, does it really matter? Right? Does that make sense, you guys? So that needs to be something that you're thinking about is, how are you called to serve other people? And that includes your family, right? And so if you don't see yourself as part of your family, or you see your dad or mom or whatever as your servant, that's a problem, right? If their only role is to take care of you and that's how you see it, that's a bit of a problem. But if all of a sudden you see yourself as a servant to your parents, that changes things. Also, when we're talking about how we live out our faith, this humble aspect, I mean, in all seriousness, if somebody is completely full of themselves, right, and is all like snooty and stuff, it doesn't necessarily bring people or attract people to want to be like them, right? And so I challenge you guys on starting to think about, how are you living out your faith? How do you want to be seen? how do you want to serve others? Because all those things actually matter. Oofta. We have lots of notes. I've been talking too much. All right. Let's go on here. Let's see. Vision. There's the peaceable kingdom from Isaiah. There's the new heavens and the new earth from Revelations. There's the healing of nations, the big picture. So really quick, I'm just going to pick out one of those. The new heavens and the new earth in Revelation. So this is sort of the end of everything, right? When we see this vision of what God wants for the world, right? So in Revelations, John has this dream where he sees clean water and he sees everybody working together and living in harmony, right? That's when they talk about revelation. And so that's God's dream, right? God's dream is everybody living together, working together, not against each other. And so that matters because we want to strive for that now, right? We want to strive for how can we have, I mean, there were 2 or 3 of you that mentioned people aren't getting along, right? And my hunch is right now, if you were to go down to your school, and here's the deal, I'm not making any judgments right now, but if I were to ask right now, I would be willing to bet that some of the families in this group are probably Trump people. Some of the people in this group are probably Biden people. And yet there's others in this group that are like, nope, neither for me, right? And so back to a couple of you saying, we have to be willing to listen to each other. So if somebody wears a Biden shirt in school, or let's say they have a pride shirt on or something like that, right? That people don't view them negatively or make fun of them or anything like that. But if somebody's wearing a Trump hat or a Trump shirt, right? That we're not completely judging their hearts and their minds and saying, oh my gosh, they're an ignorant racist hick, right? I mean, we see both of those things and we can see both of those things, but it's like, how do you guys actually, when we talk about this vision that Jesus has about us all living together, if we're not trying to live that out, we're going against God, really, right? I mean, if God's vision is us all working together and we are opposing that, that's a problem. Okay? So listen to one another, be kind to one another, see yourself as serving others. Okay? So God gives us a vision of a future beyond all the hard stuff in this world. Okay? This world is really hard. You guys are dealing with a lot of stuff at school, I'm sure. You're worried about relationships, girlfriends, boyfriends. You're worried about what grades you're getting in school. Some of you are starting to think of, what am I going to do after school? Some of you may be wondering about harming yourself. I mean, there's a whole litany of things that you guys are probably struggling with. Okay. All right. Oop. All right. I'm going to jump here. All right. Do you guys have this sheet? There we go. All right. What are some ways that this world is not yet what it should be? In what ways is our world still broken, in pain, and not yet at peace? Right? What do you think at peace looks like? All right. Stuff like this is going to actually be able to help you guys with your stuff. Hold on. Okay, but we're gonna move on. So that's one thing to think about when you're talking about your faith statement, right? I want you guys to look at that when you're writing your faith statement. All this stuff. So each one of these lessons is going to help you with your faith statement. All right, so let's talk about that here in just a minute. All right, how about this? Let's play a fun game. It's like at the end of one of those hokey TV shows that my kids used to watch. All right, give me one thing that you think you learned about. Let's just one quick note. Is there some way that you saw God differently or something differently or whatever? Dalen, you go first. What's either something you learned today? Yeah, I'll just do that. Go.
I learned some of the needs in the world.
Okay. Alex.
How God allows us to how he helps us to be able to serve the world and make it a better place.
Okay. Yelly.
Kind of like how it's more of like what we do outside of church and like helping people than it is to just go and sit in church.
Brady.
How God can make the world a better place.
Rachel.
How God can make the world a better place and how like we can make the world a better place if we like do it together, I guess.
Ashton.
To put others before ourselves and just to listen and help them any way we can.
Yeah. Nat.
Just to make sure that we're doing everything we can to help other people have good days and have good lives.
Aiden.
To help like disasters and stuff, and like all the things that we need in like the community and stuff.
Austin.
To learn, I learned how to help the world outside of in my own life, outside of school, outside of church, outside of anything.
Yeah. Rebecca.
I learned that we shouldn't just think of ourselves as like equal to others, but even more so as that we are like, that we should serve other people, and in a way we should like place our egos like below, and I don't know, that's a really bad way to explain it, but like to like almost in a way place ourselves lower than other people, just in the way that we should serve others.
Corbin.
Oh.
Are you muted? There you go.
I was gonna say like the same thing that Eric did about how you can do a lot more outside of church than just sitting in church and listening.
Holton.
You can still be connected to God even though that you're not in church.
I mean, let me be clear, okay? I'm not saying he shouldn't come to church. However, I'm very much saying that if we as Christians view our faith as being in the church, that's a huge problem, right? Because you're only talking about, so at best, right, we for a lot of us, it's once or twice a month where we're able to be at worship because we have other things going on, right? But our faith needs to be something that we're living outside of the church. And you talk about what is actually going to change the world, okay? When you talk about actually changing and having impact on the world, it's how are you living out your daily life? How are you serving others? Those are the things when we talk about changing the world and making an impact in the school, this community, the state, this world, everything. That's what we're talking about, right? Not 1 to 4 hours a week at a church. So, okay. All right. Let's see. Let me run through this. Let's see. We're not part of a class. Well, I'll just go on here. All right. Let me run through really quick. All right. For next time, watch your email. Start working on your phase statement. Do you guys all have the worksheet? Does anybody not have the worksheet? Okay, Nat, can you check with your parents? If you don't have, oh, I didn't mean to do that. There should be a worksheet that was emailed to either you or your parents about it, right? Is that how it came? Can somebody help me out that has their worksheet? Oh, there we go. Yeah. So see that, Nat? Do you see that? My journey, hold that up a little bit closer there, Austin. My journey of faith. Okay. Yep. So that's the sheet. And to start with, you could just sort of, because there's just questions on there for you to answer, essentially. Is that right? Or topics for you to talk about. That's what you want to sort of focus on with your papers. Okay. So as far as that, they are due at the end of this week. You can scan an email, or email a copy to Melissa, or drop off in the church office, type out all your answers in a Google Doc and share the link with Pastor Melissa, whatever works for you, right? Next Saturday, we're going to share the faith statements with one another. We are going to take turns reading and sharing, okay? We'll talk through some details about the affirmation of baptism service. Yeah, so there you go. All right. Sound good?
I have a quick
All right.
question.
Yep.
So, we have state next Friday, and then we usually do something like that Saturday or like that next morning, usually Sunday morning, but you know, COVID different. So I probably won't be able to be here that Saturday morning.
Are you just making this up so you don't have to read your paper? I'm just
No,
kidding.
I actually like
know.
to present things.
I know you do. That's why it's funny. That's why that's why I felt comfortable making that joke, because that's not how you are at all. Okay, just keep us updated, and when you figure out if you could maybe talk to your coach and kind of see what the schedule might be.
Okay, yeah, because it's usually just like afterwards, like the people who went to state, we usually like have a sleepover, eat breakfast, go on a run. So like we usually are together like into mid-morning, just like that next day.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we'll be in touch. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, and I can like share it with one of you guys or.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, we could maybe even find a time that a group of us would listen to you do it over Zoom or whatever.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yes, sounds good.
All right, everybody else, let's pray and then we're going to go on. Okay. All right. Dear God, we thank you for this time together. We thank you for these people. We thank you for the discernment of their faith that they're going through. We pray that as they think more about you and who they are called to be, they remember that you are always there no matter what, and that they have the ability to change the world and to affect change. And they do that by loving each other and serving you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, y'all.
So with that sheet, is it just that you fill out just sheet, or do you have to write like a essay or letter with it too?
Wait, say it again. Sorry.
With the faith statement sheet, do you have to write a letter with it or just fill out the sheet?
So it would be more in a paper form. So you could have the paper in chunks. Does that make sense? So like the first paragraph would be the first answer there. Does that sort of make sense? Kind of.
Yeah.
So it's one paper, but it's like essentially each like paragraph or section is answering one of those questions on the paper. That sort of make, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, and I will be honest, I'm not even exactly, because Melissa's doing that, and so that'd be a question you can email her, and check in with her to see what the expectation is, but I believe that's correct. So it's one paper, but essentially divided out into those different chunks on the faith journey paper page. Okay.
What events are gonna happen next Sunday?
That is a solid question. So I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I'm not sure. So Monday, everybody will be getting an email from Pastor Melissa. Okay. There's a whole slew of things we're trying to work out a little bit. There are issues that have come up. Monday, we will let you know exactly what the plan is.
All
Is that
right.
okay? Sorry, I know that's not overly helpful. Please don't hate me.
Right.
You look angry at me, Austin.
I'm not angry.
I'm just kidding. I know you're not. Anyway, so Monday, Melissa will be sending an email out to everybody with what the plan is. She's been on vacation for 2 weeks, and so she'll be sending that information out. Okay. All right, y'all. We'll see you guys later. I do like the Eeyore outfit. Or do you have a question? Oh, you're giving me a thumbs up. All right, sounds good. All right. Have a good day, you guys. Bye.
Have a good day.
Yeah.